First of all, I just want to thank the fans. They were terrific tonight. They were, um, you know, really loud, hostile, and that's what we need every week. I apologise for the performance because they spend their hard-earned money to come out and support us, and that performance today wasn't good enough from everyone. Bar the last, 5-10 minutes. A team like Louisville who are very aggressive. They like to put pressure on. We didn't execute the best that we could have. We were close in moments, but close right now isn't enough to get us 3 points. So, again, we need to reflect. We need to be better and turn this around.
In the 9 games this team has conceded first, they haven't been able to get 3 points. I think only one draw out of all of those. What has it been why do you feel that the performances have been that way after conceding first, and how do you kind of rectify those?
Well, first of all, you don't want to concede in that first. That's the easiest way. After that, it's never due to a lack of effort. We give it a go. Things just aren't going in our favour. Whether it's a call or a ball or it hits the post or crossbar, like it's just not falling for us right now. But the belief is still there. We have to keep going. We have to keep trying. Not get too out of discipline either. I think at moments we lose a little bit of discipline because we're pushing. And so, I think if you get that next goal, it gives you a foundation. It allows you to push on. It gets the crowd off their feet and start getting excited. And it can be intimidating in this environment. When the fans are involved as well. So, I think when you go a goal down, that next goal is so important. And if the other team gets it, then it becomes even a bigger mountain to climb.
Nathaniel,
Coach. We saw the effort from your players. We talked to Carrie just a second ago. She said maybe there was a mentality thing that was missing today. Did you see that something was maybe missing to get that extra oomph to get a goal, especially after that second one went in?
Yeah, but you also, there's players who don't have as many games as you would like. We're lacking a little bit of experience. We're lacking a little bit of playing time. If you see the injury report, there was a lot of players missing today who have been, so consistent this season. And it was a challenge tonight. And there was some good performances. But it's always difficult. If you go a couple of goals down, it's very hard mentally. Especially after the last game that we had away from home. So, listen, I said, we will reflect, we'll look at it, look at areas that we need to improve, install that belief. We're going to a very difficult environment in Portland, but, football's a funny old game and, things can turn around quickly. So, we'll make sure that we're in good shape. We'll make sure that, we're ready and prepared for that game next week.
Seb, you kind of talked about the belief of the team. Carey gets that goal in stoppage time. Things seem to start shifting a little bit more. Do you feel like even though that is a goal at the end of the game, that's something you can take into the training and build off of and just kind of give the team a bit more momentum?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if it had finished, scoreless again, I think that would have been even harder. But Abella scoring that goal does give us some belief that other players can pitch in with goals as well. Doesn't matter what position you play, it's always an opportunity to score, whether it's a set piece or a shot from edge of the box. So, it does give us that little bit more belief that we can actually feel and hit the back of the net. I do feel like that was an important moment in the game.
Seb, you made a couple adjustments in the starting lineup, but I wanted to ask you about the shift with Corey at center back and Zara at right back. What did you kind of see just from this game setting it up that you wanted to get Zara into the attack a little bit more and keep Corey in the back and have her kind of defend the central area?
Zara had a difficult game against North Carolina, and we felt going into this game with her energy and her enthusiasm being a little bit more front-footed than, let's say, Corey. we felt that was a shift. And then just Corey's ability to construct the back line and command the back line, we felt was a necessity for this team and where we're at right now. And I think both players did really well.
You mentioned some of the players that were missing. Haley McCutcheon's kind of been your rock in the midfield, both offensively and defensively. How tough is it to replace a player like her, and how much does this game kind of give more value to her as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I remember she was one of the first signings I made when I took this role on, and yeah, I can't remember the last time she missed a game. You know, it's been that long, and yeah, she's won the armband for a reason. You know, her energy, her desire, her attitude, her leadership. You know, we certainly missed her tonight, and so yeah, we'll be happy to get her back next week.